Kia ora and hello, I'm meteorologist Chester Lampkin for Earth Sciences New Zealand. We've got a very dynamic weather situation developing for the Friday and weekend here over in New Zealand. So we're popping back into your feed to give you an update on the thundery downpours that are expected across the North Island, this grunty front moving in from the south, and this tropical low that is dipping southward out of the South Pacific and across New Zealand throughout the weekend. Our friends over at the MetService have issued several watches and warnings, so why don't we just go ahead and hear directly from them? We've got meteorologist John Law here standing by. Thanks for joining us, John. I really appreciate it. Can you give us a quick rundown on what sort of watches and warnings we have in place across Aotearoa, New Zealand?
Kia ora, Chester. Yeah, certainly plenty of weather to talk about as we head through the rest of today, Friday, but even in towards the weekend. This low pressure stays close by. Today, it's those thunderstorms, those areas of purple you can see on the charts that running across us, some really intense bursts of rainfall. And as we head through and towards the weekend, you can see that area of low pressure, that circulation off the eastern coast, pushing more of that wet weather in towards the east. So heavy rain watches across many parts of the North Island, from Northland, Auckland, right the way down towards the likes of Hawke's Bay and even into Wairarapa, and some heavy rainfall warnings for that heavy rainfall across the far northern parts. So for places like the Coromandel, the Bay of Plenty, and crossing towards Tairafti. And those ones for the Coromandel and Tairafti, even a chance of those being upgraded. So well worth keeping a close eye on those warnings as we head through the next few days.
Thanks, Josh. So I know we've recorded this video right around the middle of the day here on Friday, right around noon Friday. Of course, the watches and warnings get updated. The data gets, we get new data. The data gets massaged. Forecasters, they make new calls, new determinations. So as always, we want to keep up with the latest watches and warnings. How do we get the latest watches and warnings?
Well, the best place to catch those watches and warnings is over on the MetService website, metservice.com, or on the MetService app. And don't forget, you can have your notifications on to get those warnings and watches straight to your phone and pushed to you as they get issued. But it is looking like an active weekend, even as we head through and towards Sunday. This system staying close by, some stronger winds, so well worth keeping up to date with the forecast wherever you are in New Zealand.
Yeah, for sure. The team over there at MetService definitely busy today and will be busy throughout the weekend. But of course, keeping you up to date on what's going on. Is there anything else that you think you want to add before we finish off our little chat here, John? It's been a pleasure having you. Anything else the viewers need to know?
The other thing to watch out for, of course, those stronger winds will be helping to drive some larger swells, particularly up that eastern coast, around the corner and towards Wellington as we head towards Monday morning. So do bear in mind, it's not the weekend to be heading towards those coastal areas. Windy, wet, and some high swells. Plenty happening over the next few days.
Yeah, good advice. Stay away from the beaches where it is unsafe, of course. Check the weather before you head out. The boaties need to check the weather for sure. And probably not a good weekend to leave out the wash, the laundry, hey?
Yeah, definitely Valentine's weekend. It's a good weekend to perhaps not do that anyway. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks a lot. John Law from MetService, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, Chester.
All right, thank you, John. And let's switch gears. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's going to happen. And I'm going to show you some of the high-resolution modeling we have here at Earth Sciences New Zealand, formerly NIWA. And we'll start with a look at what's going on with our New Zealand ensembles here. So let me just switch to that source. Give me a second here as we switch to that source. What we have here is the New Zealand ensemble. So essentially, we have a model that runs out about 5 days into the future, and we can take the model and tweak the model physics. So we'll run the same model multiple times all at once and run it out the same amount of time. And it gives you different varieties or answers or different outcomes, if you will. And you could look at these outcomes and say, okay, which is the most likely to happen? You can parse those out into different percentages. You can say, 5 variations of this model shows that Gisborne's going to get a certain amount of rain, or 3 variations of this model show that wind is going to exceed 100 kilometers per hour in Wellington, etc., just for as an example, okay? So with that said, this is our New Zealand ensemble, okay? And this takes you all the way through 4 in the morning on Wednesday. So I'm going to back it up just a little bit so we can get the total rain for this particular event. We'll take you to about 11 o'clock on Monday. And you can see here, we've got the scenarios there on the left, middle, and right. The middle scenario is probably closest to what is actually going to happen. The most likely outcome is that middle scenario or somewhere in that 50th percentile. And as you can see by the colors shown here, there's plenty of purple showing up across portions of the North Island. More than likely, we're going to see areas popping up above 75, maybe 100 mils of rain between now and Monday evening, with the heaviest rain concentrated right here in the Gisborne region. You can see where my cursor is. Now, on the high end scenario, while it's not as likely to happen, it's still within the realm of possibilities. We call that the 90th percentile. That's the heavy percentile, the heavy rain percentile in this particular case. Notice the markings of heavy rain for Kaikoura as that low approaches the south and lower North Island. And look at all the purple showing up across the North Island. And then on the drier scenario, that's the one on the left here. So the scenario that is the driest, not likely to happen, but it is in the realm of possibilities. If you think of the bell curve shape there, that 90th and 10th would be on the far ends of what is likely to happen, 50th more in the middle, what is most likely to happen. Again, all possibilities here on the left and right, but the most likely scenario there in the middle. So even in the dry scenario, there are still many locations, Gisborne, Hawke's Bay, about the Central Plateau, Tongariro, where we're easily seeing above 100 mils, parts of the Wairarapa as well, and even close to Kaikoura, the Kaikoura Ranges, right above the city of Kaikoura in that 75 to 100 mil range between now and Monday evening. So this gives you an idea of the spread, the possibilities of what could happen. So instead of just looking at one model and saying, that's the forecast, we all know that one model will never give you a perfect forecast. But if you can look at the probabilities of something happening, it increases your chances of getting the forecast correct, the most likely scenario. Sometimes the outliers, like that 90th percentile, sometimes that is the correct answer. So in this particular case, we have to keep in mind that there is the possibility of some really heavy rain with the different scenarios across New Zealand over the next several days. As this tropical low dips from the north, and dips southward into New Zealand and combines with the energy from this front or trough that comes in from the south and west. The winds coming through here on Friday. This does include thunderstorms that'll fall today and the potential for heavy rain. So bear with me. I'm going to show you one more thing here. I'm going to go back to one of our high resolution models. This is our New Zealand LAM, and we're back to the beginning of the timeline here. And again, you can see the showers and thunderstorms showing up this afternoon, quite widespread across the North Island. Again, this is this afternoon, Friday afternoon, when we recorded this video, which was recorded at midday Friday. So again, our friends at the MetService, they've got those watches. There may be thunderstorm watches issued as well after this video is recorded. So bear that in mind and get with them on the latest forecast for the severe weather aspect of this. And then again, heading into the afternoon, evening hours, we'll continue to track this fetch of tropical moisture dipping southward, and this combination of the front that is moving across the South Island. Again, the South Island not seeing a lot of impact initially from this situation. We'll talk more about what happens a little bit later in the model. But you can see that tropical low just at the very top of the screen here. It's actually located right about there. You can see right in that area. I'm going to switch over to the wind so you can kind of see where that swirl is. See that swirl right there? That's the low that is still developing. But the idea is that system is going to move south and approach the North Island. And as it gets closer and closer, we continue to see that fetch of heavy rainfall move in towards the North Island. Now, as we head into Saturday, now we're at Saturday afternoon, you can see the heaviest rain primarily east of, let's say, Tauranga, Taupo, east of Tongariro, primarily centered on the Hawke's Bay, Gisborne region. That's where the most likely scenario is for moderate and at times heavy rain, convection, thunderstorms, again, on Saturday afternoon. This time, the flow is moving more offshore on Saturday. So you can see, I'm going to switch to the winds here. Winds are moving south to north because we're behind that front that has now combined its energy with the area of low pressure that is centered right here, right off the shore. You can see that low pressure there. You can see there's the North Island, and you can see little vortices or lows trying to spin up here, and that convergence of that front and that tropical low as it moves in from the north and southward. And again, the South Island, it's chilly, but the weather's arguably better than most of the North Island, especially the east of the north, where the continued rain threat continues through the weekend. And then we'll have to really watch Sunday, Monday. We're now into Sunday. I'm going to stop the clock at Sunday morning. You can see 6 in the morning. That low's pretty well developed here. I'm going to go full frame so you can see that's a pretty well-developed area of low pressure showing up on our in-house model here, the New Zealand LAM. 6 in the morning, strong winds, winds aloft, probably exceeding 100, 150 kilometers per hour in the upper parts of the atmosphere. And that some of that will translate down as the low gets closer and sort of retrogrades or moves closer east to west across the North Island, closer to New Zealand. So again, 6 in the morning here on Sunday. I'm going to take you to the late afternoon and evening. This is late afternoon, evening, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock now, 5 o'clock in the evening here across New Zealand. You can see that low's moved a little bit closer. We continue to get that southerly fetch of precipitation into New Zealand. So as a result of that, we continue to see rain chances about Gisborne, Canterbury. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a heavier rain signal coming in towards Kaikoura and North Canterbury. And that rain continues into the evening hours, late evening, some heavy rain possible across parts of the Wairarapa, perhaps the Manawatu, east of the Tauruas. Again, as that low continues to strengthen across the southern Pacific here, the South Pacific, just to the east now. Looks like the low is located somewhere east of Wellington, maybe southeast of Napier, Hastings, and north and east of Christchurch, somewhere in this vicinity, according to some of our model data. And then we'll take it all the way to midnight here, and that's where this particular model stops. And you can see we've got heavy rain potential along with the strong grunty southwesterly wind about the lower North Island. It's going to blow a severe gale likely about Wellington, about parts of the Wairarapa as well. And of course, we're going to be watching those strong potential gales in exposed locations right off North Canterbury into the Marlborough region here late Sunday into Monday. And you can see all the heavy rain potential across these areas as well. So a very dynamic weather situation, a very changing situation. Even from when we record this video, I do anticipate changes in the forecast as this low is still developing. I'm going to take you back to the timeline, just beginning of the timeline one more time. And I want to show you the low is still well off to our north at this point when we're recording this video. So with it not yet having fully developed, it's well to our north here. Just the first hints of it showing up here later tonight, Friday night into early Saturday morning to the north of New Zealand. That means that the numerical weather prediction or computer modeling, it's going to have a hard time of really knowing where the low is going to go until the low actually forms. So that's what makes meteorology such a difficult science. It's not an exact science. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around that. And it's even hard for us meteorologists who spend every day with it. But we do know that this low is going to eventually develop. We do know that this front here that shows up very well in the wind field is going to transfer some of its energy to that developing low. And that low is going to deepen, get stronger over the next few days, and help produce this hefty rain event, this potential heavy rain event for parts of New Zealand, and the strong wind event that's going to be with us for the days to come. And in the long-range modeling, I'm not going to get too much into it because I want to end the video here, but I do want to point out that the long-range model does keep this low somewhere near New Zealand in the days to come. So unfortunately for the South Island and parts of the north too, that means a pretty chilly southwesterly wind pattern that will continue for days to come. Unusually cool for summer, a damp pattern, showery, just not really very pleasant. So the next week, you'll definitely want to stay on top of the forecast as we continue to watch this entire situation evolve. Good news is there are indications that a ridge of high pressure does move back in the long-range forecast, probably by the next weekend. And that should bring us another return to something a little more summery. So that's it from us here at Earth Sciences New Zealand. I want to thank our colleagues over at the MetService for joining us as well for this conversation. And of course, stay abreast of the forecast, stay up to date with the forecast all day. MetService has your latest watches and warnings, and we will be back in your feed as necessary for severe weather updates. Otherwise, have a safe weekend, everybody. I'm Chester for Earth Sciences New Zealand. Have a good one.